Hello, my name is Bailey and I own an ambulance that I'm currently converting into a camper van. Today I wanted to share with you some of the things I've been doing to get it road ready for our first road trip in it, and also some of the challenges that we've had along the way since we bought it. Getting the ambulance road ready. We are currently in the ambulance and we are about to take it to the mechanic for a final safety check before our first trip. I'm pretty excited about it. I've never really driven it more than 2 hours at a time when I first got it, because it was 2 hours out of town and then we had to drive it back, and that was the first time driving it. It was a little scary, but this one will be about 5 hours and I'm pretty excited for it. So I just wanted to get a safety check so I was sure that we were going to be safe the whole time and nothing bad would happen to us. So yeah, we just got the ambulance back from the mechanic and they did a couple things. They also found some other things wrong with it. My AC wasn't blowing cold, so it was a little low on Freon, and also my fan clutch isn't working properly. It's not getting up to speed. So we are going to have to replace that, but I figure we can do it ourselves. It doesn't seem super duper hard, so we are going to do that ourselves eventually. And our batteries all tested bad, which is also something we can do ourselves, and we've also been jumping it almost every time we start it, which is not very great, but that's what we've been doing. And I feel like we can survive for a little bit, but before the trip we are going to get new batteries. And I'm also going to check all the fluid levels because there was some oil leaking, and they said our oil was a little low, so I'm not sure right at this moment if they filled it up again. So I'm going to check all my fluid levels, and then I think we should be ready for our trip in a couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad they did the safety inspection, so I don't feel like we have a chance of blowing up on the road or something, which wouldn't be very good. Or something else equally as dramatic. So pretty excited to do all that, and yeah, that's all that they did, and that's what I'm gonna do. Challenges in the past. There have been a lot of challenges since I bought this ambulance, having to do with it actually being an ambulance, since it is a commercial vehicle, and a lot of places think that's complicating or don't want to deal with it, like insurance companies or registration or all of that. So I just wanted to tell you guys about a couple of things in case you guys were curious, or any of you wanted to buy an ambulance in the future, or were thinking about buying one, so that you know what comes with it. The first thing is that I had to get a temporary moving permit, and I actually bought the ambulance in a town that's 2 hours away from mine. So it was at a DMV that I had never gone to before, and we went there and it took a really long time, like the DMV usually does. And then they didn't really know how to give me a moving permit at first, so they had to ask a few people, and that took even longer. But eventually we got that part done. So that was probably the easiest part out of all the paperwork stuff that we had to get with the ambulance. The next thing that we had to do over the next 30 days before my moving permit ran out was get the ambulance insured. That was probably the hardest part out of all of the things I've had to do with the ambulance. Getting insurance was probably the hardest part. I probably called at least 24 insurance places trying to get a quote from them. A lot of them wouldn't even entertain insuring my ambulance because it is a commercial vehicle and they didn't want that liability. And at the time it did look a lot more like an ambulance, so they didn't want to take that liability and ensure that when I could possibly be getting pulled over for looking like an ambulance or using the lights or whatever, since there were like red light lenses on the outside at the time. And then all the other ones, they wanted to charge me close to $1,000 per month for insurance, which was crazy, and I couldn't afford that, so I had to keep searching. And so I eventually found one place that would insure me for a relatively cheap price, and they kind of just took my VIN, gave me a quote, and we did it, and that was it. So I was really happy that we eventually got it insured. By the time I had to get it registered. It was really stressful trying to find a place that would insure it, though, because none of the places would. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what if I cannot insure this? And then we would have to get rid of it, and that would be a whole other hassle, and then I would probably waste a lot of money because of it. So I'm glad it all worked out and I didn't have to sell it or anything. So glad that worked out. The next challenge that I encountered was very specific to my personal situation, is that the previous owner for my ambulance didn't take care of it and wasn't very nice to it at all. They also didn't put their name on the title. They never transferred the title into their name, which made getting it registered a lot harder, which I will talk about in a second. But they also messed around with a lot of the wiring and like included a TV jack, a coax cable in the ambulance, and also messed with the radios and a lot of wires. And I'm really not sure the extent of what he did right now, even though it's been about 3 years since I got in the ambulance. I don't know the full extent of what he's done. So that was a big challenge. He also didn't do any maintenance on the ambulance for the about 7 years it sat in his dirt lot. So there's a lot of things I had to do that had to pertain with the maintenance. I had to get all the fluid levels checked. I had to get all the fluids changed out. I had to get all new tires. I had to get all new batteries. I also took it to a mechanic for them to do a safety inspection at first, and that cost a little bit of money. But I got everything changed out and like a good slate, maybe not a clean slate because there were still some issues with it, but it definitely was a good slate to start with. Then, after all of that, I had to get it registered. And we went to the DMV here in my town. And the first time we went, since the previous owner did not change the title into his name, they thought I was buying it from the county, and I wasn't. So they were trying to get me to pay like a couple $1,000s in extra tax for it, which I really didn't want to do because it wasn't necessary. And then so we left that time, and then we came back a different time, and we got a different person, and they just did everything, and they didn't even mention it, so I didn't have to pay that tax. So that was good. That was pretty stressful though, thinking about how I might have to pay like a couple $1,000s in extra tax that wasn't even necessary at all. So that was also a challenge. That was pretty stressful. The first few months of having the ambulance were very stressful. There were a lot of things that I didn't know I would have to do. There were a lot of extra things that I didn't know about. There were also just a lot of fees and complications and challenges that I really was not foreseeing. So if you're thinking about buying an ambulance, I would definitely suggest researching all of these things beforehand, trying to see if anyone in your area will insure you, and also taking it to a mechanic that you trust right after you get it to look over it and make sure that nothing is super wrong with it right after you get it, or right before too, if they let you do that. Thankfully my ambulance was running when we got it, so I didn't have to deal with a lot of that, so I could just bring it home, so we didn't have to get it towed or anything, because that would have been way worse. So yeah, we had lots of issues insuring it, getting a moving permit, getting it insured, and also keeping it running in good condition, and also keeping it well maintained. But I am glad that I did all that, and I'm glad I have the ambulance now. I am super excited to take our first trip soon. That's what my next video is going to be about, I think. So if you're looking forward to that, hit that like and subscribe button to follow along if you want to see more and follow my journey. Final thoughts. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. I post here on my YouTube channel every Thursday, and I post on my blog at vitalvan.net every Monday and Thursday. Thank you guys for watching.